Hello Martin, how are you?
I'm very well.
Welcome to the Dubai Lynx. What's your impression?
What's my impression? You know what my impression is? It feels like a real creative festival.
It is?
Yeah.
So
obviously it's a creative festival, but it hasn't been hijacked by other agendas, and it's full of hope and enthusiasm and people having the right conversations about the right kind of things. It feels good. I've yet to sort of immerse myself properly in the work, so that's my post-lunch activity, is wander the stands and feed my face with the work.
I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it.
Good.
So now, Wieden Kennedy is present in 8 cities around the world.
Yes.
Any plans for expansion?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
It's enough to be going on with.
And you guys, I mean, personally I'm impressed by Wieden Kennedy. You have been winning lots of big accounts, lots of awards. And this is like a trend now. Independent agencies are gaining momentum against big, large ad networks. What do you think the driving force behind this change? Is it talent? Is it cost? Is it attention that small agencies give to big clients? What is it?
It's probably all of those. I think it probably is. And I guess different clients will want to be getting different things out of that. Some might just want to feel that they are getting the attention, as you say. I think some clients are realizing that while big might give you the distribution network, it doesn't necessarily give you the creative content to feed that distribution network. I think clients are getting smart about who they work with, and there's an oversupply of choice. So I think it's in part a function of that.
And do you think this trend will continue, or it's a matter of time until big networks start to absorb and buy these small agencies?
Well, they won't absorb the agency I work for, that's for sure. If I knew that, I'd probably be a wealthy man, and if I knew the answer. I think this industry needs independent voices of whatever kind. I think that's so I'm not going to make a value judgment between sort of the big holding companies and the independent agencies. But the independent voice is an important one to have in the creative industry. It's important to have voices that aren't beholden to stakeholders, shareholders, aren't beholden to a financial agenda only, that have the freedom to do what they want, to say what they want. And I think they are an important part of the mix, so they're valuable, and they should. We need more of those voices, those independent voices.
So, I mean, you mentioned lots of interesting things in your presentation yesterday. I mean, one of them, you said that majority of consumers know so little about your brand, or they don't even have any relationship. Do you think this is good or bad? Is it healthy? Where do brands go wrong?
Right. I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just reality. We have to work with that. It's disappointing if you think that if we had that image in our minds of people sort of passionately engaging with our brands all the time, then it comes across as a horrible disappointment. It's neither good nor bad. It's the truth we're paid to think about brands. So they absorb our working lives, and unfortunately, we also think about our jobs when we come home. That doesn't mean the consumer spends the same amount of time worrying about what we do. They've got their own jobs and lives to worry and think about. And I think putting things in proportion. I mean, we are meant to be experts in consumer behaviour. That's surely the starting point of our craft and science, is an understanding of the world around us and the place of brands in that. I think we've got to accept it and move on. Deal with it.
I agree. And one of the interesting figures you mentioned is that less than 0.5% of Facebook users talk about brands.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that probably 22% of who like brands just like it to feel that they are in a community, and 33% interact with just to feel connected. Is this true? I remember, I think.
Yeah, those were the numbers.
And my question is, this is a bit low. And do you have any advice how brands can increase interaction on Facebook? Because it's not about brands itself. It's just people talking.
Well, Size is relative. So it's only low if you thought it was going to be big. Or if you think there's something wrong with that. For me, when I look at those numbers, they're not particularly surprising because brands aren't that important in people's lives. They're just not. And it's interesting when to hear people's reactions to that kind of evidence because they're like, well, surely it should be bigger. Surely fighting the evidence, fighting the truth, rather than saying, oh, okay, so if people aren't that interested, we better be doing something absolutely remarkable to get their interest. So I think rather than try and fight the data or fight the consumer truth, rather than say, we need to get more fans, or why aren't people engaging more on Facebook, why don't we just man up and deal with it and start doing some interesting things rather than sort of try and fight a reality that we find somehow sort of undermines our own sense of value. I think it's our own egos are challenged by it. You know, you think, well, hang on a minute, I was up all night on that client conference call, and the result is nobody's engaging. It's our own value exchange feels sort of slightly out of whack. I think the best thing we can do. I was saying it in the morning session. Let's just get a little bit. Let's acquire a little bit of humility about what we do. Humility gets a bad, you know, some humility sounds like weakness. I think it's a great source of strength. We should just be a bit humble about our real role in people's lives. Because once we're humble about how important we are to people, then we'll start actually making more remarkable work.
Interesting. And like, what's your vision on social media advertising and marketing? Are we heading towards an iceberg? Is it going to be bad, or is it going to get better? More opportunities for brands?
Oh gosh! Again, if I knew the answer to that, I'd be a rich man on some penthouse here in Dubai.
It's just your personal opinion. It's going to get better, or it's.
I think, and I think we're beginning to see that. I think some of the hype and rhetoric is being exposed for the bullshit it is. Because there has been an awful lot of hype and rhetoric, understandably, because it's new and exciting, so I wouldn't want to dampen enthusiasm. But understandably, people are asking, does it work? What's the return on it? Do we have to do it? So I think we're beginning to ask harder questions of that. Will there be more opportunity? Yeah. Of course. I mean, I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it? I mean, it's a cliche, but we've got more ways to interact and make contact and involve consumers in our stuff than ever before. And the only limit now with technology is our imagination. And that's really exciting. But just because you can make something doesn't mean you have to make it. And I think working, you know, we've got to explore and we've got to play and we've got to really get it wrong too. Because you only really learn by failure.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I think I don't know. I think we'll learn more, we'll fail more, we'll move forward. Some stuff we're going to leave behind and go. You know, maybe in 10 years' time we'll be saying, why were we ever on Facebook? Or you know, I don't know.
So the last thing I want to ask you about is the Kennedy's program that you guys have. It's the second year now.
We've had our second batch, and we'll be having our new recruits later this year. Yeah.
How many students do you have? Or do you call them students or interns? Or?
We call them the Kennedys. We call them the Kennedys after Dave
How
Kennedy.
many Kennedys you have each
I
term?
think I think the last round we had 7, if I remember roughly.
And it's open for anyone, or do you have to do some sort of registration and pay fees?
No, you don't pay fees. You just have to demonstrate that you have potential and you're insane and can work with us and be nice.
And so it's like a paid job. People join you.
It's a real job.
It's a real job.
You get to work on real clients. You get to make work that sees the light of day. Yeah, it's an amazing program.
And it's like after it ends, do people join Wieden Kennedy for good, or do you keep track of them?
The intent is to take some of them on as full-timers. So yeah, part of that year of the Kennedys is, you know, us working out who we'd like to take on full time. So each year we've taken on full timers, which is super exciting. Yeah, there's a real job at the end of it for the right people.
So, is there any plan to do anything with any advertising festival around the world around this idea, which is the Kennedys?
Around the Kennedys. Well, we're certainly going to be taking on, looking for, you know, the next batch of insanely talented, nice people. How we'll do that, we're still figuring that out.
All right, cool. All right, thank you, and welcome to the Middle East.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.